Have you ever gone to the bookstore and stood in front of a wall of beautiful books and bought way more than you should? But then as you're walking out to the register, you see a wall of beautiful journals. They're leather bound. They're made with beautiful paper. They've got themes, and you buy 4 or 5 of those. Well, maybe not 4 or 5, but more than you should. And then you take those beautiful journals home, so excited to do something great with them. And then you find yourself anxious and worried that you're somehow going to ruin these journals, not knowing what to do with them or how to use them. They never get used. Well, that's what we're talking about today on this episode of the Read Well podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to this week's episode of the Read Well podcast. I had an interesting experience a few days ago. It was Father's Day. No, not Father's Day. My birthday a little while back. Thank you. It is my birthday. I'm getting older. But my mother is the sweetest woman I know. Her and my wife and all of these women in my life know that I love books and journals and note-taking and all of the other things. So they often get me, gift cards and random things. But my mother got me this. Let me just show you what I'm holding. It is a giant leather-bound handmade paper journal. This thing looks like it is Gandalf's wizarding, the thing that he would carry around. It's got a metal clasp on it to open it up, and it's all very fancy. So if I open this thing up, you can see here that the pages are like, I don't even know what to do with this. It is so gorgeous and so beautiful and so mysterious that you want to, at the same time, put it on the shelf and never look at it, and two, like, put your spells or something in it. I don't know. Anyway, this was such a good example of journals and how we often get these beautiful gifts, or we buy them for ourselves, and then we don't quite know what to do with them. So today we're going to be talking about that feeling you get where maybe you're not using your journals or taking notes in these books because of a sense of fear due to imperfection. Maybe you don't really know how to lay the items out and you don't want the book to be useless later on. We're going to go over all of that in today's episode. Okay, just a quick layout. I'm going to talk about journals today, and then I'm also going to give you an update on the bookstore that I'm launching, Edgewater Books. That will come up very soon. And then, as always, don't leave, because I'll be giving you a great book recommendation this week that I think you'll find valuable, especially if you're looking for something a little more challenging and intellectually stimulating. Well, I've got a lot of journals on my desk here. This is the one I sort of live by. This is one of those Leuchtturm 1917 journals. I really do like these. I like the grid paper on them. I like to put stickers on them to sort of remind me why or what I'm interested in when I begin writing in this journal. But there are several reasons why maybe I feel anxious when I get a new journal. And the first one I want to talk about is the fear of imperfection. These things are gorgeous. I mean, like this one here is leather bound. The one I showed you from my mother that she got me for my birthday is absolutely leather bound. I wish you guys could smell this thing. I mean, it smells. If you ever walked into a high-end leather shop, maybe they're selling handbags or they're, whatever. But the smell of leather is just one of the greatest smells in the world. That's what this journal smells like, because it is real. Everything about this is real. This had to have cost her a fortune. Well, I love it, but now I don't want to ruin it. And so that sort of fear of imperfection is the first thing we should address. Now, for me, I'm left-handed. So when I write anything, my handwriting is a mess. And I know the moment my pen touches the paper of one of these journals, it's going to be ruined. It's going to be ugly. And I have this sort of just reverence for people with good handwriting. If that is you, I bow down to you across the internet waves and want to get better. If you're like me and you find that your handwriting is not very good, something that has helped me is buying, like I said, one of these Leuchtturm journals or any journal that will give you grid paper. What I've been doing is trying to put one letter in each box. And so what that does is it sort of spaces the letters in my handwriting out so there's enough breathability in between each letter. And then every time I skip to a new word, I try to put a box of nothingness in between each word. So first of all of my letters, by using the grid paper, over time become the same size. They get more uniform. And that forces me to slow down. And I write really small. It's hard to read what I write. Ever since I was a little child, my teachers have hated my handwriting. And so this has helped me really spread the letters out, which is frustrating for me because I end up only getting a word or two on a line of journaling But then when I step back, I'm like, oh, well, I can read that now and it's legible. So if you're struggling with your handwriting, try that. Go get a grid journal and use that for the first round just to work on the styling of your letters. Now, another reason why you might feel anxious about writing in your journals is you want it to be special. A journal, by definition, almost has some preciousness to it. And I think we want it to mean something because, we're going to be pouring our energy and our thoughts and our genius into these pages. And what if when we do that, we find that it's not so great, that the ideas are kind of dumb or useless or, just not what we wanted? Well, what I found for me is that by accepting that up front, that I'm going to be more open to the fact that my ideas are bad at first. They're all bad at first, and then I have to workshop them and sort of, work on them to make them better. The process of journaling does that for me. And so I had to redefine what my notebooks mean to me. This is not a place to keep my fine-tuned, polished ideas, but it is a place to discover my fine-tuned, polished ideas that I can then go out and share with the world. So I had to get away from thinking that the journal was a sacred event, and instead it's a place it's a sandbox, really, to begin exploring my ideas. That was hard for me to do. But when I combine the fact that I'm trying to improve my handwriting with the permission to play, I end up with a somewhat organized sandbox that is a nice meeting in the middle. Another reason why we are often concerned about sort of our imperfections with a journal is, what if somebody finds it? What if somebody reads our innermost secret thoughts? That can be terrifying. And so now you are left with this decision of, should I put everything in my notebook or my journal, or should I sort of self-edit? Now, that's a decision only you can make. And I will tell you this, the process of treating your journal like a conversation is a really healthy thing. So if you've ever had a best friend where you've sat down and you can tell this person anything and they're going to listen and they're going to give you good feedback, that's really what a journal is meant to do. If you're honest with it and you put your thoughts on paper, and as you're writing, your subconscious sort of throws answers back at you. And as you're continuing to write, you think, oh, wow, that was really insightful. I'm going to make that change in my life. That can't happen as much if you're self-editing every word as it's coming out of your brain, because you're worried maybe one day your kids will find these books, or your parents, or your spouse, or whatever. So I would encourage you to just be a little raw with your journals. You will get more out of them, and I know that it can be scary. And if you're concerned about people finding them, put them in a safe or something. I don't know. But definitely you are missing a huge benefit of these great books if you are trying to sterilize everything, right? No sterilization. Okay, let's talk really quickly about how to make your journaling experience better. So now that you've decided you're going to do this, you're going to be okay with imperfection, but you're going to work on sort of your handwriting and the look and feel of it, but not be so precious, right? You're meeting in the middle. Now let's talk about how to get more out of this experience. First things first, I like a journal that feels good to me. There are some journals that just in my hand don't inspire me. They don't feel right for me. They're either too big or too heavy or too plasticky or too metallic-y, or they've got weird designs on the front. A journal is kind of a personal thing. You're meant, again, to have a conversation with it. So make sure that you're buying journals that really do inspire you. Now that leads us to what they look like. I bought this one a couple weeks ago. I got it at, I don't know, I think it was maybe Barnes & Noble. It was on sale. I can't remember. But it just says a writer should write with his eyes and a painter paint with his ears. So I like that. And I thought, oh, this is good. And it was like on discount or on sale. So I bought it. Well, now when I brought it home, I'm thinking to myself, well, now I have to use this for my writing thoughts. This isn't a normal journal. This is a journal that has to be used for my essay ideas and my writing ideas, because the cover is talking about writing. The design of the journal really can influence what goes into it. And sometimes that can be detrimental, because really, I often just want a place to go to sort of brain dump and, again, have that conversation. And if I pick this up and I go, dang it, I can't use this journal for that because this is for writing ideas only, well, now I've limited myself. So there's nothing wrong with that. I think we just need to make the decision that if you're going to be the kind of person that's going to have multiple journals, all of them themed, that's okay. Or if you're going to have one journal where everything goes in and that's your life, that's a second decision. Just make that decision for you now. And there are some pros and cons, of course. The pro of having everything in one journal is you can easily carry it with you everywhere you go. You can throw it in your purse or your backpack and then quickly open it up and put down your latest thoughts, ideas, maybe notes from the book that you're studying. If you have themed journals, then it's not going to be as easy to carry around 6 or 7 of them. Maybe you've got one for, how to be a good parent. Maybe you've got one for your school homework. Maybe you've got one for your book notes on a books that you're reading. I don't know. But that can get really cumbersome. But again, it is a more organized system. So the pro there is that if you need to find something, you can go, I need to look for that information I had on parenting. I'm going to go to my parenting journal and open that up. There's no right or wrong answer here. There's just an answer, and you need to find it for yourself. Okay, a lot of people are going to tell you to set some sort of writing schedule or journaling schedule. I don't know that I have found this to work for me. I feel pressured if I have to sit down and journal. I feel like I have to be brilliant, and that is not ideal for me. I'm a busy guy, and the thought of doing that is just overwhelming. So instead, I've just committed to having my journal with me at all times. I try to always carry it with me. That way, if I'm sitting at a restaurant or I'm in line for something or I'm waiting for my kid to come out of a karate class, I can open up my journal when I'm inspired and begin to work on projects I care about. That to me feels better. But again, this is a decision you have to make for yourself. Are you more inclined to succeed by having a journaling prompt every morning at 8:30? Or are you more like me and just your commitment is to always have this on your person ready to go? All right, the last thing I want to share with you in terms of handling a journal before we get into the updates about the bookstore and my book recommendation for this week is a lot of people are going to tell you to embrace your imperfection, that you can't be successful in a journal unless you embrace your imperfection because it's going to have mistakes and you're going to screw up and you have to scratch something out. And yes, I agree that that's going to happen, but I'm going to push back a little bit. For those of you that are perfectionists and you want to make this a project and you sort of get fulfilled with that, don't be ashamed of that. Own the perfectionism. Make this something that you're super proud of. And if you decide to do that, a couple tips. I would start by creating a layout within the book. Before you start writing on page 1, begin by thinking about all of the sections you want your journal to cover in your life. Now, I'm assuming you're picking one notebook like me, and you're just carrying this thing around. And if you look at the book that I did a while back, I just did a video on this, but in this book here, the first thing I did is I spent a day or two, and I wrote my mission in the front of it, and then I created sort of a table of contents because I knew that there were things that I wanted to care about this year that I'd be writing about. And so I created, I went through and numbered each page, and I gave myself what I thought would be the appropriate amount of pages for that subject and so on. And over the year, I've just been going to each section and working on those areas of my life. Now that can be done, and you can really get out your coloring pencils and your highlighters, and you can create headers and banners if you're an artist. I say go for it. If that's you and you want to really put some visual energy into your journal, that's great. Embrace the perfection if that's the kind of person you are. If you're not into perfection and you're more into flying by the seat of your pants and just seeing what comes out of your subconscious, which I tend to lean more that way because my brain can be a little scattered and I benefit from letting it just sort of dump onto a page, that's you, then I would say just start writing. And a good practice for you is each morning to just give yourself a chance to do some free writing or whenever. Again, we're not setting schedules here, but whenever you sit down, just do some free writing and see what comes out. Okay, this week at the bookstore that I'm launching, I've decided I'm going to try and make the opening date for Edgewater Books October 23rd. So if you have been following my journey, I've created a new playlist in my YouTube channel called Edgewater Books. That's the name of my bookstore. And this week, what I've been doing is working with vendors. So let me tell you about who I am working with. I have been meeting with a world-class roaster up here in Salt Lake City, Utah. He's been roasting for over 35 years. He's visited 26 countries. He's tried to find just the best coffee around the world. And I've spent a couple days with him now, and I've got a few more days with him. We have been drinking a lot of coffee from Ethiopia to Rwanda to Colombia and Costa Rica and Guatemala, and it has been fantastic. So I'm excited because we're going to be packaging 4 lines of coffee, and I'm going to be getting some tea lines as well so that you can purchase a bag of coffee or some tea with whatever books you decide to get at the bookstore. Also, I have designed a bookmark that will be going out for free with every book that you buy. You'll be able to buy the bookmark itself too, just by itself if you want. But every time you get a book, this will come with it in the packaging. It's a 56-day tracker, an 8-week tracker to help you stay on your reading goals. So you'll be able to write the name of the book on the top of the bookmark, how many pages you want to read a day, and then you can just use that bookmark as a tracker to make sure that you're hitting your goals. Really excited. I have a lot more coming in the bookstore I can't wait to tell you about, but we'll give that to you in little bits and chunks at a time. Okay, let's do this week's book recommendation. Drum roll, please. This week, I am recommending Nassim Nicholas Taleb's Antifragile. Now, this book has been around for a little while, and I'm going to prepare you for this. This is not an easy book to read. I do love a good, difficult book. I like something that I can chew on. This one will take you a while to get through. It took me probably about 4 months. Now, I could have read it faster, but I like to read slowly and try to figure out what's happening. The ultimate argument here with Antifragile is that things get better when they are sort of catastrophically challenged, right? Sort of when they are upset so much and they're destabilized so much, complex systems like businesses or economies or even family units can improve with that destabilization, and they achieve sort of a characteristic that he calls anti-fragility. So if you're into that kind of complex thinking and you want to chew on something that is rigorously researched, and there's some really great anecdotes in here as well, go check out Nassim Nicholas Taleb's Antifragile. Hey, if you found this week's episode of the Readable Podcast helpful, I would love to ask a quick favor of you. If you're watching the YouTube video, please give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment. I'm trying to get some more engagement going on the channel here. That really helps YouTube know that people are watching and that you like the content I'm creating. Let me know if you have any questions about what I shared today regarding the journals or anxiety with writing in them, or even questions about the book. If you're listening to this on the podcast, I would really appreciate it if you could take a moment to go and leave a review. And that also tells Apple Podcasts that this is a show worth listening to. Again, thank you for your support. And until next week, as always, remember to read slowly, take notes, and apply the ideas. I'll see you guys later.